long length partials is the newest fancy training technique that is supposed to stimulate more muscle growth than just regular full range of motion reps. And even though there's been all of this rage quite recently about long length partials being more effective for muscle growth than regular reps, I'm here to tell you why it won't stimulate better muscle growth if you're actually already training properly. But first, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Alphonse. Here we talk about how to maximize your results from your training with as little time spent in the gym, with as little risk of injury as possible. As you can see, I'm far from the biggest guy giving fitness advice on YouTube, but I'm an absolute super mega nerd when it comes to everything about exercise, and I've been obsessed with it ever since I was 14. And so if you're humble enough to listen to someone like me who isn't absolutely huge, then I could definitely teach you some stuff and help you to avoid having to spin your wheels, making little to no progress like I first did when I first started training and knew nothing about this stuff. But anyways, in this video we are going to go through pretty quickly why you won't get better results from switching to long length partials if you're already training properly to begin with. And I'm also going to go through why some of these people who promote long length partials as being better for muscle growth are mistaken, and the actual reason why some of these studies show that long length partials can be better for muscle growth. But anyways, let's get into it. So, if you look at the way that most people exercise, most of the repetitions are carried, largely by momentum, and there isn't a lot of muscular effort involved in most people's reps. You see most people, they just kind of launch the weight out of the start position, and then they let the momentum that they created carry them throughout the rest of the repetition. And most people who go to the gym just generally don't train very hard. They don't train very intensely. And since we know from Henneman's size principle of motor unit recruitment that effort is the primary driver of stimulating muscle growth, it makes sense that most people's results isn't the best, or at least isn't as good as it could be. Now, what happens if we then take these people who are training with a lot of momentum and who just isn't training very intensely to begin with, and we force them to slow down in the lengthened position? Well, the answer is that there's going to be a lot more muscular effort involved in those repetitions. Why, you might ask? Well, it's because, first of all, because they're using a shorter range of motion, they don't really have as much room to get that acceleration going. But also, it's because the lengthened position of an exercise usually provides a longer moment arm against the muscle, so the weight has more leverage against the muscle, making that position harder. But the main reason why being in the lengthened position for a lot of people is going to increase the effort involved in the repetitions is because you are putting your muscles in something called passive insufficiency. And I want to shout out Dr. Doug McGuff for this explanation, because he has by far the best, most simplest, easy to understand explanation that I have seen, and you can check out his explanation on his channel. You can just search up Dr. Doug McGuff lengthened partials and it will come up, and his explanation is so good and so simple to understand that I'm just pretty much gonna copy what he said. When a muscle crosses two or more joints and you fully extend both of those joints, you're putting that muscle in something called passive insufficiency. What that means is that when a muscle shortens on a microscopic level, you have actin and myosin filaments where the myosin is grabbing onto and pulling on the actin, and that is what creates the contraction. But when you hyperextend both of the joints that muscle crosses, a significant percentage of the myosin heads can no longer reach the actin and pull on it, and so the muscle's ability to produce force is compromised, and therefore it's going to require a lot more effort in order to get out of that lengthened position. And so it's not the act of loading the muscles in the stretched position that is causing more muscle growth like some of these researchers and people who promote it believe. It's the fact that doing this for a lot of people who aren't already training properly with a high intensity of effort is going to increase the amount of effort of their exercise, therefore recruiting more motor units and muscle fibers and stimulating more muscle growth. And this is also the reason why some of these studies that you've probably heard of show that there can be a benefit to doing lengthened partials, because the subjects that are doing the lengthened partials are generally going to push harder than the subjects that are doing just regular, fast, high momentum, low effort sets where they're just letting the momentum carry them throughout the most of the repetition. And even if the study does say that it controls for intensity of effort, a lot of the time they're really not doing it very well, because most people's definition of failure is, when they're doing their, fast, high momentum repetitions and they hit a sticking point and then they drop the weight and say that's failure, which is, if you compare that with actual proper exercise done to true momentary muscular failure, is very, very low effort. But anyways, as you probably understand by now, doing lengthened partials is not going to give you any better results when it comes to muscle growth if you are already training with a high level of intensity to begin with. And the best way to achieve the best possible physique that you are capable of achieving with your genetics is by training with the highest level of intensity of effort possible. And if you want to learn how to train with the maximal level of effort to maximize your results from exercise, then check out the other videos on my channel. I have videos about how to perform a set properly to failure and a bunch of other stuff regarding exercise that I know you're gonna find very useful. And so if you want to learn more, go check that out. But anyways, that was all for this video. I really hope you guys found it helpful and that you learned something. And if you did, then please don't forget to leave at least a like on this video. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future from me, then don't forget to click that subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can be notified the next time I upload. But with that being said, I'll see you boys in the next video next time. Peace.